Hello.
What's up?
My name is Rob White,
I'm Rob Segovia.
and this is the Rob and Rob Show. Basically, we're just going to talk about music and everything relating to that subject, I guess.
Yep, we're going to go into some hip-hop news, and we're going to start off with a little news about The Weeknd. He released his new EP. So, yeah.
Also get into like our favorite albums and songs at the moment. And more stuff after that. First off, we're going to kind of introduce ourselves. I'm going to have Mr. Rob Segovia take it away and have him tell you all about his life and what he's doing.
Yeah, I'm Rob Segovia. I am a part of The Real Deal. I am a segment producer. I'm going to be doing some social media next year. I am that producer for The Real Deal. And then for WCRD, I am also the social media director. And I am one of the producers for the Friday show for our Live at 5. And I have a few sports shows that I do on the side as well. How about you, Rob?
Man, I don't know if I can follow that up. My name's Rob White. I'm a third-year senior here at Ball State. I am in TCOM digital production, video. I'm a part of The Real Deal, WCRD, and now part of this, I feel like. That's basically all you need to know about us, kind of like a brief description.
Yeah.
So why don't we just kick things off, and why don't you tell us what we're going to talk about first?
Yeah, so first we have My Dear Melancholy from The Weeknd, EXO artist. He started off with Drake on the rise. He's from Toronto, Canada. One of the biggest artists right now, and he's also going to be a headliner at multiple festivals.
Yeah.
But he released this project last night.
Out of nowhere, too.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about how that EP came about? There was like a text message that came from The Weeknd.
Yeah, basically it's all through social media. He, on The Weeknd's Instagram, about like Monday or Tuesday, he had a text message conversation to one of his friends saying, hey, can I just drop this now? And like drop it on Friday or whatever. And it's kind of like no promotion for it whatsoever other than his Instagram account, which I think is really cool. This is The Weeknd's newest EP called My Dear Melancholy. It's where he kind of takes his roots of him being like dark and melodic R&B and kind of brings that back into this EP. What are your thoughts about this? Because it doesn't sound anything like his last album, Starboy.
Right. And for me, I wasn't the biggest fan of Starboy or Be Behind the Madness. I am not a fan of The Weeknd. I don't know if I should say The Weeknd. I don't know if Weeknd is suitable.
We'll call them The Weeknd and Weeknd are like suitable.
Cool. So Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, The
Friday
Weeknd.
sometimes.
Friday a little bit. The Weeknd really shined on his trilogy of mixtapes. That was when I first discovered him.
Can you elaborate on that whole process?
Yeah. So for Trilogy, he started off with House of Balloons, one of my favorite mixtapes, and he was really amazing on that project. He had very dark material, synths and deep voices, but also hitting his crooning on that project as well. Then he went into Thursday,
which was a couple months later.
Right.
I feel like.
Yeah, and then he released the last mixtape,
Echoes of Silence.
Echoes of Silence. Yeah. That was his last mixtape to the trilogy. Put it all into an album. It's on Spotify for you guys to listen.
Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal.
Whatever. Whatever you want to listen to. I have it in my music on my mixtapes page, but no one listens to mixtapes anymore, like Chance the Rapper said.
That's funny. But touching on his backstory, when he first released these 3 mixtapes, it was obviously something new, but he wanted to put his music on the forefront. He didn't release any pictures of who he was. Right. It was kind of a mystery of like, who's this man behind his music? And which is very refreshing. I mean, I'm pretty sure people go through like a emo phase or something in high school. I didn't.
I did.
High school or middle school. So like this is kind of my emo phase. I remember as soon as I found out about The Weeknd, that's all I listened to for about a year, and like a really big fan. It's like the first person I like fell in love with their music, and and then he released his next project, which was Kissland, kind of like a follow-up. It still sounded darker and didn't really transition to hip-hop, I'm sorry. Didn't really transition to pop music until Beauty Behind the Madness and then Starboy, which he said he didn't really like it. I liked it. I like his darker stuff more, but Starboy and Beauty Behind the Madness are still really great albums in my opinion. But I'm really glad when he goes back to this album, My Dear Melancholy, he goes back to his darker roots.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I loved what he did with this project because not only did he go back to his roots, but he also peppered in some of the elements that his new fans are big fans of. I mean, you have producers like Daft Punk and Skrillex on it, which you didn't get with House of Balloons or any of the other trilogy of mixtapes. But he also goes very deep and dark with his material, and that is pretty much the recipe for success, you know,
right.
Going and pleasing your old fan base, but also appealing to your new one.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, and we talked about it. Do you have any songs on the project that really stood out? There's only 6 songs on it, so it's a really easy listen to. It's like 30 minutes long to listen to the whole thing. I want to ask, what are your favorite tracks on it, just off the first couple listens?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I listened to it this morning right off the bat. Let's go through the track list. Call Out My Name was the real one that hit me right away. I was like, this is House of Balloons. And then Try Me was definitely my standout track. Then you have Wasted Times, I Was Never There, Hurt You and Privilege. Is there one from you that you really loved?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I Was Never There was definitely my favorite, the one that stood out the most. Obviously, Call Out My Name is a great opener, but for some reason, I've listened to the whole project maybe, I say a full time, like 3 times all the way through, and I Was Never There is always the one I gravitate towards. I don't know if it's the subject matter or just, I don't know, maybe that beat behind it, I'm not sure.
It might be, and you were talking about how it has this really cool pitch change. Tell us about that pitch change that you love to do. I mean, he does it all the time when we're at home listening to songs, and I just hear really slow, you know, deep voice come in.
Yeah, I'm a fan of like when artists change like the rhythm or tone of their voice in the middle of a song, like a beat switch. I don't know, I just, that's the thing that motivates me nowadays. And yeah, he does it in this song, kind of like 2/3 of the way in, and it's like very surprising, and I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's a great album.
Yeah, My Dear Melancholy is definitely a must listen, and I will have more for that on the next Real Deal episode. But yeah, let's get into some of our favorite albums and songs at the moment. I mean, this is a pretty cool topic that we want to get into. We love going back and listening to older albums, new albums, and there's some songs that we definitely stick with throughout the day.
Absolutely. We're going to start with albums. I'll start with mine first. Mind you, these aren't our top favorite albums. It's just the albums I guess we're listening to a lot at the moment. Yeah. So number 1 to kick things off is from a rapper called J.I.D. That's his name. And the album is called The Never Story. J.I.D. is part of J. Cole's label, I believe, and he's from Atlanta. Very new face to hip-hop. I really like his rhythm and flow, and also I love his lyrical content. It's something different. Other than that, it's not really too much I want to elaborate on for that, because I really just started listening to him. I didn't really do much research on it, other than the fact that I just listened to this album a whole bunch. And I highly recommend it, The Never Story. So that's my first favorite album. Yeah,
with The Never Story, I mean, you have one of the standout tracks, Never. I mean, I love listening to that song, especially with the video, very high-paced. You know, police are chasing J.I.D. through the streets, and that's pretty much a call-out to what he deals with in everyday life in Atlanta. That's J.I.D. in a nutshell. Definitely a good pick from Rob. And for me, first album on my list is Thank Me Later from Drake. Now, Rob, I know you're not a huge fan of Thank Me Later, but it was definitely one of the better projects from his early career, in my opinion, especially with tracks like Over, Find Your Love. definitely culminated in Hit Drake, where you get all of his mainstream music nowadays.
I get that. I get that. All right, so I guess I don't really like that album that much, but hey, if he likes it, go ahead.
Hey.
All right, so my second album I really like is Childish Gambino, Awaken My Love. I've been listening to that a whole bunch. It came out, last year?
Well, it was 2016, but it was here for the current Grammys.
Right. At first, I only played it like twice, and I thought it was just okay. And it wasn't until, I say about 4 or 5 months ago when I really started to appreciate what it was. Of course, I like Redbone, and
right.
Everybody likes that song, but I really enjoy Terrified on that song.
Terrified
on that album.
Yeah.
He performed at the Grammys too, which I was like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, I'm a huge Childish Gambino fan, and that is like an ode to like old Funkadelic and that type of music. He's not really rapping on it at all. It's a really good, refreshing take on his new music. So yeah, that's my number 2.
Yeah, I love what Childish Gambino did with Awaken My Love. Terrified is definitely one of my favorite songs. Me and My Mama was the first one released from Awaken My Love as a single, and I was like, this is such a good song. There was a heavy beat switch, guitars being played. I'm like, this is Childish Gambino? Because I remember listening to Camp early in his career and thinking, wow, he's rapping so fast, but then he takes it back with a little singing and heavy funkadelic rhythms like you were talking about. So I definitely like Childish Gambino's project what he did with that. And then for my second album that I have here is Kevin Abstract's American Boyfriend, A Suburban Love Story.
Our boy.
He's one of the members of Brockhampton, and we've talked about Brockhampton a few times on this show.
Yeah.
They are definitely one of the rising groups. They're a boy band. They are a rap group, whatever you want to call them, but they are on the rise. I see them in a whole bunch of festivals now. That's the same thing that happened when Chance the Rapper had his big breakout when he was on Ultralight Beam. And he had that big verse. And after that, he started being featured in all of these festivals. And I was thinking to myself, I don't have my Chance the Rapper to myself anymore. Everyone loves him. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with Brockhampton. We went to this intimate show in Grand Rapids where we were with about 40 people, and we were right in front of these huge artists that are making their moment right now. And Kevin Abstract, what he did with this album is he had his singing moments, and he definitely took a darker production, not like The Weeknd, like we were talking about earlier in the show, but definitely talking about his moments in homosexuality and what he's bringing to the LGBTQ community.
Right. And it's definitely a new thing to see in hip-hop as well. So yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
We met Kevin.
We did meet Kevin.
We met him after the concert.
We shook his hand and we talked to him for a few minutes. He's definitely pretty short. He's my height, and I can say I'm short. So yeah.
Okay. All right. My third album would have to be by Daniel Caesar, and that's Freudian. In my opinion, I think this should have been nominated for Best Album of last year. That's just my opinion. He likes it too. Daniel Caesar is a R&B singer, and it's just a different take on R&B. He doesn't really talk about. He focuses more on love and like heartbreak and the emotional side of relationships rather than just wanting to have sex and stuff like that. And it's a really great take. And his voice is very unique. You don't really hear a lot of artists sound like him. I actually found out that he does not put any any different sound effects or enhances his voice in post, which I really like. So his voice is what he actually sounds like in the booth, unaltered. And I heard he's very amazing live as well. So I do want to see him in concert one day. My favorite songs on this album would probably have to be Worst Part. What's the first track called? Who would
Now We Find Love, but
it's with Kali Uchis.
Get You.
Get you.
Yeah.
I like that. And yeah, the whole album's really good in my opinion. Yeah, just a different take on R&B. So that's my number 3.
And for my number 3, I'm going to go with Jon Bellion's The Separation. Now, a lot of people know Jon Bellion from The Human Condition, but let me tell you right now that that does not meet any of the criteria that I look for when I listen to Jon Bellion, because he takes it back with a whole bunch of amazing music, translations through speakers. The Definition and The Separation are all quality projects that were overlooked because he released them as free projects. And we talk about free projects as something that's really amazing for artists to explore themselves. They're not attached to any labels. And we're going to get into that later in the show, but there's something about The Separation that is so unique, and he incorporates a lot of hip hop and pop and R&B. I remember listening to his take on The Motto by Drake, and he was singing it. I was like, is Jon Bellion really doing this right now? I mean, I wouldn't have picked him as one of the artists that goes with the Motto cover, but he did. And I remember seeing him at this very small Chicago club called I said Chicago Cub, Freudian slip. I want to watch the Cubs tonight. But yeah, I saw him at this small Chicago club, the Subterranean, and he was amazing. Definitely a smaller venue again. I wasn't supposed to be there. It was.
I won't tell nobody.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm doing it right now on live television, but it's okay.
It's fine.
Jon Bellion is definitely an artist that you should check out, especially with his older music.
All right, you're the first person who actually told me about Jon Bellion. You showed me all of his videos and his music, and I became a fan, not like a big fan like you are. But one thing that stood out to me is he makes pretty much all of his music. Like he produces, and you showed me a video. Sorry to cut you off. You showed me a video of him. He didn't have a guitar, so he had to actually, like with his voice, try to mimic a guitar sound. And then after like editing and Pro Tools, he sounded like a real guitar.
It was amazing. Yeah, that was on Superman, The Gift and the Curse, one of the standout tracks on this album that I'm talking about, The Separation. And again, like Rob said, he is a multi-talented individual who can switch it up with production, singing, rapping, whatever you want in an artist. That's Jon Bellion.
That's what's up. All right, we're on to number 4. So these next 2 albums are actually in my top favorite list. This is probably my favorite album of all time, other than Michael Jackson, the Thriller album. Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly is definitely my favorite album of all time. Not really much to be said. I mean, everybody knows Kendrick Lamar, one of the highest ranking hip-hop artists at the moment, and this kind of set the tone of him being at the top. And the fact that it's not a traditional hip-hop album, it's a lot of jazz, a lot of funk, a lot of soul, and it's very, it's a contemporary album. Like, he has a poem that he recites all the way through. He has a song where I believe he's drunk and he's crying actually in the booth, and they recorded him. He's talking about how much he hates himself and then suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. And then the next song is All Right. Like, we gonna be all right. Just the way he ties the all the subject matter. There's too much, like too many to like name. It is amazing in my opinion. I can't really see a hip hop album that can top it, at least right now. So we were actually debating on what's Kendrick's best albums, and this is my opinion. Kendrick's best album as far as musically. I know Robert has a different opinion with like his lyrical content. You like his earlier stuff, like
Overly
Dedicated and Good Kid, Mad City, which I really like those too. But in my opinion, nothing's topping this. Even his last album, Damn, you liked it, but not as much as his other stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Damn was good. I'm not gonna, tell anybody not to listen to it, but it's more about the hits on that album. He was definitely appealing to the mainstream, but that's just not for me. I loved certain songs on it, especially the hits. I mean, they're really good, but not what he was doing with Good Kid, Mad City. When you talk about Sing About Me, Dying of Thirst, that's his best song, in my opinion, that he's ever done. And a lot of people skip that because they're looking for more hits. And that's what you get with Swimming Pools and other songs off that album. Exactly. And Overly Dedicated, again, I was looking for the hits. As you know, in high school, I was looking for the hits on these albums, and Overly Dedicated had Michael Jordan, and that was
he showed me that song.
A standout track. I love that song. But yeah, definitely a good pick out of Rob for To Pimp a Butterfly. Musically, his best work to date, and one of the best hip hop albums of all time, like you said. For me, I'm going to get into my number 4, Rex Orange County with Apricot Princess. Now, Rex Orange County is one of my favorite artists right now. He can pretty much sing. I mean, he sings really well, but you also get a sad aspect from him. I mean, you talk about The Weeknd and being all melancholy, but Rex Orange County does it in a way that you feel that without all the elements behind him. You feel it from his voice. And that is one of the most powerful tools, like Kanye said, earlier in his career. I mean, the voice is an instrument in itself. And that is what I love the most about Rex. And I found him off of Tyler, the Creator's project, Flower Boy. He was on a couple tracks, you know, Boredom and the first track, Where the Flower Blooms. And those are just really great songs because of Rex. And he was able to perfect that sound on Apricot Princess. A lot of different, you know, vibes that you get from it, being, you know, So Far, So Good, Television. That's one of my favorite songs off that project. And you know, right now he's in his single phase. He's releasing single after single, Lucy's, and I'm really excited for his next album. That's going to be pretty good.
That is what's up. All right, for my last choice of favorite albums, it has to go to Frank Ocean. This is a hard decision to make because we're both huge Frank Ocean fans. I'm going to have to, the one I've been recently to recently is his visual album, Endless, that not a lot of people know about. Because he didn't release, he released it like a day before Blonde, as like a way to get out of his contract with Def Jam. And I think it's beautiful. Like, I find myself crying, like, for real, like, in my feelings with this album. His voice is, like, very beautiful and very somber and very, like, I don't know, it's just great. Like,
yeah, no. Endless is such a good project. A lot of people don't give it enough credit. Like you said, because it's a visual album, and there was a lot of, you know, backlash at the time because a lot of people were listening to it and they're thinking, this is what took Frank Ocean 4 years to make. But it was good.
It was great.
And then Blonde came out a day later on my birthday. So I think that was Frank's present to me for being such a great fan. But yeah, no, he was
like he knows.
He knows. He knows
finger
me.
on your pulse.
Yes.
Sorry, keep going.
But yeah, no, Blonde is definitely my favorite out of the two that were released in that time span. But Endless definitely needs more recognition. Rob definitely put it into the perfect words for that album. And for me, my last album, I'm going to go rock Rise Against, The Sufferer, and The Witness.
This is your favorite.
This is my favorite album of all time, okay?
Favorite band, too.
Favorite band. A lot of people don't... Oh, yeah. A lot of people don't give Rise Against enough credit in the punk rock scene, the punk rock scene. But yes, The Sufferer and The Witness is their standout album. I'm not going to listen to Wolves. I'm not going to listen to The Black Market. I want something like Siren Song of the Counterculture, The Sufferer and The Witness, or Appeal to Reason. Those 3 albums circled. Revolutions Per Minute is okay. The Unraveling is pretty good, but The Sufferer and The Witness, you get amazing song after song. You can listen to that whole project and not get bored. Ready to Fall, Injection, Bricks, Drones. I mean, the list goes on. Behind Closed Doors, Under the Knife. Great album from front to back. That's all I've got to say about that.
I guess I got some homework to do as far as Rise Against. All right, that was our albums. Now we're going to go into songs. How about on this one, we just go down the list and kind of explain briefly on each one because we have some other topics to talk about.
All right.
So the songs that I've been listening to, number one, I actually, not today, yesterday, I found this song. It's from XXX Tentacion. It's hard to pronounce his name. It's called Sad. That's kind of like, I don't know, I just like his voice and his melody. Not really lyrically like great. So yeah, that's number one. Two would be Drake, God's Plan. Everybody's been listening to this song. Everybody knows the lyrics. The
God's Plan.
God's Plan. Or she say, "Do you love me?" I tell her,
only
yeah.
I only love my
dad and my mom. I'm sorry.
sorry.
There we go. Yeah, it's a great. I can listen to that like at any party I go to or any. Even if I'm like working out, I feel like a way of like, oh man, I can like this is God's plan, you know. So, all right. Next song is called "I'm Sorry" by Joyner Lucas. Joyner Lucas is a fairly new. Well, he's not really new. He's kind of coming to the forefront of hip hop right now, and his song "I'm Sorry" talks about suicide, and he takes a very serious subject and applies it to his own life and to others' lives in the way that a lot of people can relate, even though they have not dealt with suicidal thoughts and stuff like that, which I really appreciate. And the fact that, it's a great song. It's a great melody. You can just, bob your head to it. Next is Tyler, the Creator. He released a new song and video titled Okra, which I thought was very interesting. I really like the song. It's nothing like his last album. It's very, bass heavy, very like flexing in your face rap that sometimes I like to listen to. So, yeah. And lastly, this is not a coincidence. I'm wearing a Prince shirt because Prince is one of my favorite artists, and it would have to be Prince's song "Raspberry Beret." I've been listening to that a lot. Robert knows I've been playing it in our apartment a lot. And I think this was like my first Prince song. Yeah. And I just find myself, he always catches me dancing to it.
I caught him the other day. I put it on my Snapchat story. It's there. It's in my phone right now. I'll
hopefully nobody sees that.
Yeah, we'll show you.
But yeah, those are my songs we've been listening to.
For me, I've been listening to Amine, Heebie Jeebies.
Yeah.
Such a good song.
With my wife, Kehlani.
Kehlani is gorgeous. Just putting that out.
Just want to say that. I love you, Kehlani.
Yeah. You got a fan here.
More than a fan. The same.
Anyway, Heebie Jeebies is such a good song. I found it on NBA Live 18. I should have seen it on Good For You, his album that came out, but I didn't really pay attention to that release. I knew what I was getting from Amine with Caroline, but yeah, it's definitely one of the better songs on the project. After I gave the whole thing another listen from Heebie Jeebies, that's definitely one of the better songs.
Really good.
Childish Gambino, I have Pop Thieves, Make It Feel Good. Man, Kawhi is such a good album.
No one listens to this one or knows about it.
No one listens to it. They go from Because the Internet to Awaken My Love, but they forget that Kawhi came out, and I definitely think that it's one of his better releases. Got a little Pacific vibe to it, and,
very like beach vibes,
vibes.
Like Hawaii, and like sipping on a drink with like a coconut drink with an umbrella in it, with a Hawaiian shirt on, it's unbuttoned with no shirt underneath with a gold chain.
You see where Rob wants to be right now. But yes, definitely a project that you guys should check out. Pop Thieves, Make It Feel Good is one of my favorites on the project because, I mean, like it says, Pop Thieves, he definitely stole the pop atmosphere and element for that song, and that's what makes it so good. Bleachers, Don't Take the Money, amazing song. I remember our roommate Thomas was playing it a whole bunch of times, and it got stuck in my head, but I didn't know what song it was. Then I heard it at WCRD, just down in Letterman. Got to give a shout out to WCRD. But yeah, Don't Take the Money, I listened to there, and I Shazammed it, and I'm like, wow, such a good song. Don't Take the Money by Bleacher. Bleacher is definitely a good song. Queens of the Stone Age, also heard this song at WCRD, Keep Your Eyes Peeled. Hadn't listened to a Queens of the Stone Age project in a while, but yeah, definitely their albums get overlooked by the Grammys, especially this year. They should have won with their newest album, Like Clockwork. But yeah, I mean, Queens of the Stone Age definitely needs more recognition, so listen to Keep Your Eyes Peeled. Keep your eyes peeled for them on their next project. Sam Hunt is my last artist with one of my favorite songs right now, Body Like a Back Road.
Sam Hunt's country, right?
Sam Hunt is country, and we were talking about this a little while back, but I've been getting into country music a lot recently.
A lot.
A lot. Don't get it twisted. I love hip-hop, but I'm on the come up. Chris Stapleton, Sam Hunt, Brett Eldridge, Darius Rucker. Man.
Wagon
wheel. Rock me, mama, like a wagon
not
wheel.
condone such
Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Okay, anyway. Body Like a Back Road. You can do 15 on a 30 with that song.
Oh my God.
Such a good listen. So that is my last song for my list, and now we're going to get into some topics of the day.
There we go.
Rob, lead us in.
All right, yeah. So we talked about Brockhampton earlier in this episode, and recent news, actually today, like a couple hours before we came here, we realized that Brockhampton just signed to a record label, RCA, I believe, and but like it begs the question, like, a lot of artists, they start out as independent, then make their way to a label. We want to like kind of touch on like the pros and cons of that. So like, I want to ask you personally, what do you think the motivation for certain artists to go to a label is? Like, why do you think in 2018 most artists want to do that when you can pretty much do everything yourself through the internet?
Exactly. You can do pretty much everything yourself, but what a label does is it pushes your music not just with the fan base that discovers you, but really on radio you get a lot more exposure with different touring.
More funding for your
more
projects.
Funding, exactly. And I was thinking to myself, how is Brockhampton getting to all these festivals? I know they're popular and everything, but I think RCA might have had a little say in that. They might have had their little push to Brockhampton. They might have said, hey, these guys are solid, take them to your festival, and everybody saw one of them, and they're like, let's take them in. And it gives more funding, a lot, and what labels usually do is that they say, hey, we want to take your soul, we want to take everything from you, and
we're
going
one arm and one leg, and
and we're gonna make it what we want. But what Brockhampton said, Kevin Abstract actually posted it on his Instagram account, and he said, we're not giving anything away. We're not going to give in to labels. We're going to do everything our own still. We're going to make all of our own music. Nothing's going to affect what we do on the business side or the music side. RCA is just a platform to put our stuff on. And that is a really good way to tell the fans, hey, we're not changing. We're still the same Brockhampton. And that's important. Tyler Creator actually commented on that post, and he said, hey, you don't need to tell them anything. But I think Kevin did a good service to tell us fans that nothing's going to change.
Right. I think you put it in the great words, actually. I think a lot of fans fear that they're going to lose their initial voice or their initial like creative concepts when they go to a label, because you hear about all these restrictions. You hear that even Chance the Rapper doesn't like labels, but sometimes you need a label to to break out. I mean, Chance was already he was always kind of, I guess, popping in these streets.
He was popping back in Chicago.
So he never really needed a label. I mean, it's unconfirmed. I mean, he still says he's not on a label, but
I mean, Apple Music distributes his stuff, so we're not gonna, say anything. But Apple Music definitely helps Chance the Rapper out.
Yeah. So again, like even though before they even went to the label, they did everything themselves, which I think is a great idea to have in 2018, where you don't need all these gatekeepers. You can just, as long as you have like a microphone and an internet connection, you can pretty much, and like a talent of course.
We could do
sometimes
it.
not even talent. We could do it.
We could make an album. Be on the lookout. Keep your eyes peeled for a Rob and Rob album?
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Being independent, it's really up to the artist. I feel like, because you don't need those gatekeepers, like we said, but sometimes you don't need those gatekeepers to get started. But to get maybe a leg up, it's a good idea to join some of these labels and to like see where your career takes you. Mm-hmm. Or you can just remain independent and try to do everything yourself, which is also a great idea in most cases.
And talking about us as new rappers, we're going to transition into new age rappers. Ooh. You know, there is a huge hype behind the little rappers of the world, the Lil Uzis.
Too many. Lil Uzi,
the Lil Xans.
Lil Xan.
Lil Pump.
Yeah.
I mean, Gucci Gang was a cool song, but I'm not going to say it's revolutionary.
By no means.
No, not at all. And the triplet flow has definitely overtaken hip-hop, with Migos popularizing it. And, you know, there's mumble rap now that is, I mean, I want to hear lyrics when I turn on a song.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, a lot of artists nowadays are just going with the production and saying, hey, this beat is cool, let's ride it.
Right.
What's your take on that production element to the new age rappers, why they're popular?
I feel like, because we were talking about this earlier, the reason why they're popular is because it depends on the setting. I work out, and I also we go out sometimes, and when I'm working out, I don't really want to listen to the lyrics that much. I just want to, you know, get something that hypes me up to get me through my workout. Same thing with a party. I'm not trying to, you know, dissect what this rapper is trying to say when I just want to have a good time and listen to the music. And I feel like maybe that's popular nowadays. Most people want to do that because, you know, it wasn't. This isn't a new thing. I mean, you always had hits back in the '90s and even early 2000s where it's just a bunch of, you know, hits and not really lyrically great. I think it's just the transition that we're in, and I don't think it's a bad thing, to be honest. But I do kind of look in my spare time, my own time, when I'm not out or working out. I do like listening to lyrics a lot and dissecting them and see what the artist really means. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I like new age rappers. I like listening to those songs, but I mean, it's nothing that's revolutionary, like I said.
Right.
But they have their platform to give to these young kids. They are the cover. They are the face of hip hop, and with messages like, you know, drug use and abuse, all of that, and they're the ones who are exposing that and putting that on a pedestal. It doesn't make sense for these young kids to be influenced by them, and that's what I don't like about the new rappers like XXXTentacion and who else? 6ix9ine. I mean,
yeah.
No, they're whack. Okay, but yeah, there hasn't been an amazing solo rap album this year, Rob. What are your thoughts on that side of music? I mean, hip hop hasn't had a strong solo release this year.
I think it's just, I don't know, we're still kind of early too, but people like to collaborate a lot. We've had a lot of collaboration albums like Big Sean and Metro Boomin, and then Travis Scott and Quavo, and then the Migos had their own album. Kendrick Lamar had the Black Panther album with a bunch of artists on there. So I think it's just early, and a lot of people like to collaborate. It's kind of something new. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it is kind of funny that there isn't really a set project from a solo artist in rap. So I thought that was kind of peculiar, but
yeah, I mean, we're almost in April, and Black Panther, the soundtrack, would be album of the year, rap album of the year
Facts.
At the Grammys. That's facts.
Right.
But yeah, anticipated releases before we leave you guys. For me, it's Brockhampton, their new upcoming project, Puppy. That's going to be pretty cool. Rob, any releases from you?
Yeah, Frank Ocean. These are just these aren't really confirmed, but these are just artists that haven't dropped anything in a while, and we're all looking forward to. So mine is Frank Ocean, Beyonce, and Kanye West. Kanye's out in Wyoming doing his thing with this album. Beyonce dropped Lemonade 2 years ago, and yeah, Frank Ocean dropped his album 2 years ago. So it'd be nice to see a project from them. Don't want to get my hopes up too much because I don't want to get them broken if they don't. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. This has been the Rob and Rob show.
Yeah, we had a good episode.
Yeah, it's been really cool talking music with you. We always do this, but for the Real Deal, we wanted to do it as well.
Shout out to the Real Deal for having us branch out too.
Yes.
So Angelo, Michael, Kyle, everybody, Brandon,
Eli. Yeah.
So guess we're gonna sign off. So I'm Rob White.
I'm Rob Segovia.
And yeah, have a good day.